Hey everybody, we are getting ready to start the leadership class. This term we're going to spend 7 weeks kind of really studying and figuring out what leadership is. I think the best way to introduce it is to refer back to something that I mentioned in another introductory video. That other introductory video I'm going to use from last time we did it, it introduces kind of the concepts of chapter 1. But really to introduce kind of a bigger picture, let me do it again using the bikes. So this is something we've done with the undergraduates to get them to practice the skills of leadership and teamwork and organization in a real project. But to get started, I got to teach them how to ride bikes. Now, most of you probably already ride bikes. You've probably grown up riding bikes. They're probably just kind of kid bikes, kind of fun bikes, kind of recreational bikes. The ones we use are a little more complicated, and so we really have to understand how to ride. So let me introduce you to this one. This is a road bike. This is my Roubaix. It's by Specialized. It is a carbon fiber bike, so it doesn't weigh very much, because when you think about being on the road, you don't want to be hauling extra weight. And so carbon bikes are made to be strong, but they're also flexible. So unlike steel, they're actually made to flex, but to be incredibly strong and lightweight as well. So just kind of going through here, the seat, which you see is really narrow, is because when you sit on it, you don't want something wide. You want your legs to be able to slide easily along the side of this. It takes a while to condition your bottom to be able to sit on this. Handlebars, when you ride with your hands up here. The shifters and the brakes are all right in here together. And so we have to learn how to shift. The right unit controls the rear, right is rear, and the left controls the front gears. And so we have to learn that the small piece moves it to a smaller gear, and the big piece moves it to a bigger gear. In the back, if you want to go fast, you want to be in a small gear. If you need a little help getting up hills, you go over to a bigger gear and you shift here. In the front, it's the opposite because of the way the math works. So if you want to go fast in the front, you need to be on the big gear for more teeth. So you can control that by pushing this piece over. If you start going up a hill or riding into hard wind, you push over and you shift to the lower gear. And you don't want to be opposites. So you don't want to be small, small, or big, big. And we teach and train. I've got a Garmin computer on here. I've got water bottles. One of them I will have water in when we do long rides. The other one will be half and half, water and Gatorade. Because as you sweat, you do need to replace with some energy, those electrolytes. You don't necessarily need a pure Gatorade bottle. Half and half tends to work well. These pedals look very different from probably what you have on a regular bike. It's because those pedals are meant to clip in with your shoes. So if you see my cycling shoes, they have this cleat, and then you have to learn how to get on the bike, and then you have to learn how to clip in. And so you clip in, and then you're able to pull up. The advantage of pulling up is that instead of all the energy power coming from just pushing down one leg at a time, you can push down and pull up. Both of your legs are involved. Instead of just using your quad, by pulling up, you can use your hamstring. Your foot stays locked in place, and so it's also your calf muscle. The seat tends to be up higher than on a normal bike. And so we do that because when you sit on this, you want to be up really high so your leg is almost straight when it's at the bottom, and you invoke more muscles back here in the back. So a high seat invokes more muscles in your legs, and when you're riding all day long, you want to be able to use those. So when you have a high seat, you don't need to be on the seat when you stop and start. So you actually start and stop here, and then once you get moving, then you go up onto your seat. And when it's time to stop with your right brake, if you hit your left brake, I've seen people flip over the seat, over the handlebars, and crash. Start here and then finish here. You unclip, you come off, you touch down, and you're done. Another thing is these little skinny tires. So probably not many of you, unless you have a road bike and do this stuff, you probably got fat tires, which are made for comfort. These are made for speed. And so with cycling, with anything, we want to reduce the friction. And so one way to reduce friction with the road is to have really high pressure tires that have just a little bit of area that touches the road. So really kind of at its most basic, in here I have tire changing tools. And so if I were to get a flat, I've got a spare, and I've got the tools to change this. I've got a CO2 cartridge to be able to pump up a new tire when I'm out on the road. And again, the Garmin trip computer can kind of keep track of my distance and the speed. You can even upload maps and do things. So that is a road bike. And anyone with basic experience riding a bike can learn to do this, but it's more complicated than a regular bike. Let me show you this one too. So this one is it's called a touring bike. And so this is actually made of steel. It's by Surly. It is made for riding across the country, and you load it up with bags. I've got saddle bags on here because I had a gift certificate from eBay, and that's what I afforded. But also you can buy panniers, which are bags that hang on the racks. And you can put racks on the front. It's got little things on here to be able to hold racks, and you can load it up, and as a steel bike, it's gonna be strong, and you can haul a lot of weight across the country with you. This one has a leather seat on it, which is a little more comfortable for the long run. This one is made for basically going faster and for more efficient. This is just kind of a slower bike, but a real sturdy, heavy bike. I do have wider tires on it because I use this on trails. So when we do our rails to trails rides, I'll do it on here. The gear shifting is basically the same. It's got some shifters with the thumbs. I've got the SPD pedals, which again, I can clip on with my shoes. So again, that's the basics. And I wanted to show you this with the idea being that even though you know bike riding, even though you know how to ride a bike, to do it really well and to do really cool and exceptional things, there's a lot more to it. It's a lot more complicated. I've got over there also my helmet, my jersey. The jerseys are made in a particular way to cover your backside, to give you pockets in the back. The cycling shorts that you have seen people wear, okay, they are made for a specific reason, to be nice and tight and snug, not to have friction or loose between your skin and the seat. They have a pad in the bottom to help sit on that very hard seat. Again, what I want you to see is just like leadership. You all have done leadership. You all have ridden bikes. To do leadership well and to do really cool and exceptional things through and with other people, it's going to require a little additional education and training. It's more complicated and complex than a lot of people realize. So over the next 7 weeks, we're really going to pull apart all the different dimensions of leadership, give it a good introduction, and I'm going to have you think and reflect on how the book concepts relate to experiences in your workplace and in your work world. So it's not just learning the stuff for the sake of learning it. It's not just learning to ride a bike in your head, but it's actually to be able to do it and accomplish something. So that's kind of the purpose of this. And one last little thing, it'll be mentioned in a little comment that I give, but we're going to do reflections. So instead of formal research papers with citations and APA style and all that, this is going to be more first person reflection. Okay, here are the concepts that I see that are interesting to me and relevant to me, and here's how I understand and see them in these situations that I'm familiar with. Okay, so as we begin this, just realize it may take you a week or two to kind of get into our style, but we've got some great graders, we've got a great grading team, and we're all available to help and answer questions and get you up to speed as soon as possible so we can do some really cool things together. So that's it. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a good semester. Bye.